In this installment of the bathroom LVP project, fourth one, we're going to actually get some planks out and start laying them down. So they say to pull them out of multiple boxes and inspect them. And the other thing you want to notice is that sometimes the patterns are kind of obviously repeating, and you want to set these pieces a little bit apart from each other. But yeah, basically just grab them out of the boxes and start laying them down. Now you notice that there's a tongue that goes in two directions easily. Well, you can lay it down in two directions pretty easily. So along the tongue in those two directions is probably the easiest way to lay the floor. So if you want to start on a long wall, you would put the tongue towards yourself. And I call, when looking at it like this, like we're looking at it here, that's sort of right side up. So we're going to be talking about left and right later. So you take it, a plank, and you raise it up and insert it pushing in and get that gap down to nothing, and then you can tell there's no black area there, and then lay it flat. Now this particular brand of flooring, it didn't really want to go flat very easily, so you almost had to bend it slightly backwards, but you don't want to bend it backwards because it'll tear it up if you do that. So I use this caliper to put the gap between the wall and the flooring. Now they say to put a 1/2 inch, but that's too much because my shoe molding is only 7/16, and it's easy to get a little bit more than you intend. And you could eyeball it, but I found that eyeballing it wasn't very accurate. You'll also notice on that last shot that I didn't cut the tongue off of that piece, which I'm going to have to do later in order to give it a full 1/4 inch gap, because when I'm measuring this gap, I'm measuring it from the top of the flooring. So here I'm measuring the full distance between the ending plank and the wall, and then I'm subtracting a 1/4 inch, and then I wrote PL there for preserve left. And so this is what I've defined for myself. That's the right piece and that's the left piece. So when I'm cutting this, and you can sometimes you get down there and you don't remember which way the tongue should be, so that helps explain it. Now this room happens to be just under 10 feet. It's like just slightly under 10 feet, which is perfect. And so there's two ways to do this. You can score it, or you can cut it with a saw. And I tend to cut it with a saw just because, for me, it's just less manual work with my hands, and you can get a nice straight cut, and you don't have to worry about scoring it and using that blade.
Shit.
But unfortunately, my saw doesn't quite work unless I put those two little 2x4 blocks in, and then it cuts through the entire plank. So here I am installing that plank that I just cut, and so again, start at a 45-degree angle, get it in there, and then press it flat. And like I said, sometimes you have to bend it back just a little bit to get it flat. So there we have a nice 1/4 inch. That's my target. I'll be mostly a little bit away from that. I don't get any closer than that if I can help it. So anyway, I put together an entire row, because this room is, like I said, 10 feet, and I just put together in this case, 2 4-foot pieces and 1 2-foot piece, and then I start lifting it up and pushing it into the matching groove. And you can see the line will completely go away when you've got it pushed together properly. But further down, obviously, these things are not completely straight all the time. They bend because they're flexible, and they're supposed to be. So further down needs to be worked in. And this particular brand doesn't want to really snap in that easily. It's that little, you'll notice it in several shots, is that it doesn't lay flat right away. It doesn't snap flat. And if it's not flat, it's not connected properly. So you really have to, in this particular brand, really have to work at it to get it to snap into place. You can't just hold it flat. I mean, you almost have to either bang it in, and we'll see that later, where you tap it in, or you can, if it's just like this, you can actually pick it up a little bit, pick up the whole thing and counter bend it backwards just slightly. So anyway, I'm getting this just how I want it, because I'm going to nail it down, which is just a temporary procedure, but you want it nailed down when you're measuring for your next row, because if it's not, then it'll slide around, you'll measure for something, and then the measurement will be off. Now I use these little nails in this particular shot, but you really ought to have some longer nails to really hold it into place. And even if they don't hold it, you'll know if it moves, which you want to know. So you get it just right, and you nail it into place, and there you have the beginning of my first 2 rows. So that's those critical rows are good to get just right, because you'll be fighting it if you don't get these right. And then finally, I need to cut off my little well, just double checking the distance, and it's good. And I just need to cut off that tongue. So there you have it. First couple planks.